woken up in the middle of the night and known you had like 10 seconds before you just shit all over yourself? I just exploded. I got shit all over the grass, all over the steps of my cabin. It was like 10 feet in front of me, like y'all would have been covered. This is a paradigm shift. I'm a visionary.
Hi.
Oh, thanks so much for being here.
It's my face.
Look at this.
Yeah.
The American Humor Award.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Are you looking to win an award?
I won. I'm good. I'm good. No.
Joe, this is your first hour-long special, right?
Right.
Doing it with Netflix. How long have you been developing a lot of this material?
Some of it's quite old. We were just talking backstage. I used to do some of this stuff like 6 or 7 years ago, but then a lot of it was new as I was like touring, getting ready for the special. So, you know.
At Rafifi, right? You used to do like 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah, I used to perform at Rafifi.
10 years ago now,
yeah, let's not dwell on how old I am. It was, I moved here and started doing stand-up in 2005. Yeah, and, but it's all newer than that. Yeah.
You started doing stand-up in Boston, right? At Emerson?
Yeah. I did. A bunch of my friends and I, we all started doing stand-up like together. We would roam as a pack because we were all so scared and insecure to go by ourselves. So yeah, we would go all over Boston doing
Do all
stand-up.
of you still do stand-up in your own
Most of us do, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So what was it like doing stand-up when you first started? What were some of your jokes about?
I don't know. I think I was just trying to be edgy. So like, it's like pretty cliche. It was like a college student writing like abortion jokes or whatever.
No, you can say that.
I can say that. Yeah. But I've gotten better. I've become a better stand-up. I talk about shitting myself now, so that's...
And you talk about an old MTV reality show.
Yeah, I have a long joke about that show Next, which is a good dating show. Silence. No, y'all, not a lot of Next heads.
What?
A couple.
Couple next heads, as you said.
Contestants, maybe. No? All right.
So you've been developing this material for a few years. You did an album, right, a few years ago?
Yeah, I did an album in 2014 that I released as a hip-hop mixtape.
How did that come about? How did you get people involved in that?
Just, honestly, you can get a lot done just by DMing people. Like, I DM'd, like, Fabulous, and then he left a voicemail on my phone. I put it on the album. It was great.
But you have a big Twitter following, right?
You could, yes and no. Yes, but I also bought, like, 800,000 followers or whatever. You can do it. The president does it. So...
Why did you buy the followers?
Just to see how... I read an article about how, like, all these famous people had bots. Like, Justin Bieber, whoever... And I was like, well, I can do that. So I started, I went on, the dark web and started buying bots from this guy in Moldova. I don't even know where Moldova is. Yeah.
Sounds like a made-up country.
Yeah.
I don't think it is a real one, but
yeah. Is Moldova real? There we got confirmation. Great.
Thank you for being smarter than us. We much appreciate it. So you've been working on this material. Where did you perform it?
I shot the special here in New York at Highline Ballroom, but
what made you choose Highline Ballroom?
It's a cool spot, and it's not like a lot of comedy specials are shot in the same theater. There's a main one in Chicago. There's a couple here in New York. There's one big one in LA. So I just wanted to find a place that wasn't you could figure out where you were just from the beginning.
So much of a wonderful story that you tell in your special, which I had heard you tell before, and it's one of my favorite bits of yours. This was when you and your friend Noah get really high and go to a Mike Huckabee show taping.
Yeah, we did that. Mike Huckabee, who you might know as the famous Twitter comedian, he was also the governor of Arkansas. He used to have a talk show on Fox News There was like
a late night.
It was like
show.
a late night show where he like did monologue jokes and had like a desk and he had guests on.
You know, the only reason he probably got like a late night show is because he played bass, and they're like, "Oh, he's the cool one."
Oh yeah. Oh, he played that bass. he exactly.
Oh, like Meghan Trainor was that? Yeah.
Yeah. He was like the Meghan Trainor before Meghan Trainor.
No, I feel like if someone reads your Twitter feed, you love, for lack of a better word, trolling right wingers or poking fun at people on the far right and pundits, conservative pundits. But you really only tell the Huckabee story in this in regards to them. Was that because the Huckabee story was kind of like so big already within the special, you didn't really want to go after anybody else?
Yeah, and I don't have any like Mike Cernovich material yet. Maybe that's the next special.
But you're also not sure if he's going to go away yet.
Yeah, I don't know what his deal is.
Counting days on Cernovich.
Yeah. Is he still relevant?
Do people even know who Mike Cernovich is?
That makes me so happy. Let's keep it that way. He's the worst. He's a bad dude.
Yeah. He's a really bad guy.
Yeah.
In the Alex Jones, Roger Stone level of bad.
Right. He also adheres to something called the gorilla mindset. He thinks he's like smarter than everyone else because he like has the mindset of a gorilla, but it's like, that's not. You're calling yourself a gorilla? All right.
It's like his own approach to mindfulness, like the sort of the mindfulness economy that people are using to grift people. He's sort of approached that with a machismo element.
Yeah, he's super cool. Let's keep talking about him.
Yeah, for those of you who didn't know him, now you can get acquainted with him through us.
Cool.
So how long did it take you to develop a lot of the material for this?
Yeah, I went on tour. I write a lot for TV, so I was on hiatus last year. So I was able to tour for like 3 months and got it kind of all together, and then we shot it in January.
How do you know what of your material you want to hold on to for your stand-up and what you want to pitch in a writer's room?
That never really is a problem for me because like the show I write for right now is The Good Place on NBC, and it takes place in the afterlife. So it doesn't really, there's no like overlap with my stand-up because I'm not an angel or whatever. So it hasn't been an issue yet.
But you do a big bit about Shark Tank in here. And that was something that when I was listening to it, I was like, oh, I could imagine this on Kroll Show because Kroll Show was all about sort of incorporating reality television.
It's funny you mentioned that because I actually did burn my Shark Tank material. I used to do like way too many examples. Like I would have like 15 ideas, and I've used a couple for the shows I've written for. The one I can think of off the top of my head was in Master of None. We used a Shark Tank idea I had, which was Shazam for trees, which was like you could point your phone at a tree and it would tell you what kind of tree it is.
It's actually a great idea.
Yeah, I don't know how to do it.
I was with someone recently who was like, I wish I knew what all the trees were.
I think about it all. I don't know, like that tree. I don't know what kind of tree that is. I wish I did.
I was on vacation last week and someone was like, oh, that's a Japanese maple. And I was like, oh, that's amazing that you know that.
Yeah, or he's just racist.
I think that's actually what
it was. Okay.
Yeah.
Lucky guess.
So you wrote on Master of None?
Yeah. Season 1, yeah.
Season 1. What was it like writing on that show? Because it seems like a very the difference between a show like that and something like The Good Life is what, 22 episodes?
No, Good Place is only 13.
13 episodes.
Yeah, so it is. But like before that, it was Parks and Rec, which is like 22 a year. Yeah.
Where it seems like with that, everyone's throwing as many ideas out there as they can to try to make sure that you have enough material to cover.
Right.
Whereas Master of None feels like a much more kind of myopic, for lack of a better word, sort of view of the material, like trying to craft a voice.
Yeah, and you can be a little more, like, because that was only 10 episodes, so you can be a little more, like, discerning and indulgent about, like, certain, like, really, like, honing in an idea and, like, focusing on it, whereas, like, 22 episodes, writing on a show like that, it's like you're on a buzzsaw. Like, you're like shooting episode 9, but you're only writing episode 12. And you're like, wait, we have 10 more after this? It's just like, it's a crazy schedule.
You consistently have a feeling of like, how are we going to get this done? And then it just ends up getting done.
Yeah, because you just have a lot of talented people and we figure it out. But it is like kind of frantic. There's that kind of frantic energy where it's just like, we got to just whatever. Like, yeah, that's funny. Go, 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 But like Master of None, that was like Aziz and Alan Yang like really would like, we would figure out a topic and then just discuss it for days, just trying to figure out like, well, what's the angle, like what's the joke, and it's just a totally different vibe. It was fun because I'm friends with both of those dudes. So that was an interesting atmosphere too, to have your bosses be like good friends of yours, you know?
How different was it sort of approaching material where it didn't have to be like, okay, what is the next joke? What is the best joke? But more like, what is the more interesting angle? Whether or not we have the best joke or not, this is the most interesting angle that we want to explore.
Yeah, I mean, that was like a interesting balance because like for a show like Parks and Rec, which I wrote on, but even like shows like 30 Rock or Kimmy Schmidt, it's just like the abundance of jokes. It's like the sheer amount of jokes that hit your head is crazy. And like a show like Master of None is a totally different vibe where you're trying to like kind of give like a realistic, you're trying to portray people in a realistic way and like kind of find right characters that seem like people you actually know in real life, you know? So that took some getting used to because like my whole, up until that point, all I knew was just like, let's just cram as many jokes as we can into this scene. And so it was just like a give and take about that.
Was it weird getting used to that?
A little bit, but I mean, we figured it out, I think.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. It's a great show. It's
just a balance, yeah.
Yeah. Well, how many jokes do you have to come up with in a day in a writer's room at a show like The Good Place?
I don't know. I mean, they kind of form naturally. And there are certain days where all you do is focus on a story and just trying to make sure the story makes sense. So there's days or even like a week where like you don't tell a single joke, really. You're just trying to break the story. And then like once the story's complete, then you're spitting out hundreds of jokes a day, you know, often a lot of them terrible, but just like you're just throwing stuff out there, you know? Yeah.
How did you go from doing stand-up to writing for television?
I got hired. I don't know how it happened, but John Glazer was like one of my comedic idols. He's the best. I got asked to come in and pitch story ideas for Delocated, which was one of my favorite shows at the time, which is a Adult Swim show. If you haven't seen it, it's amazing.
I worked on the second season of that show.
Right, it's the best, right? It's about a guy in the witness protection program who's also the star of a reality show. So he can't reveal his identity, so he has a ski mask over his face the whole show and has like a voice modulator. So
he's like the most narcissistic person in
amazing.
the world.
It's so funny. And so I just started writing scripts for that show, and it just sort of, from that, I started writing on Kroll Show and then Parks and Rec, and yeah, it's great.
So let's talk about the American Humor Award and calling this an award-winning comedy special.
Yeah.
Is there something that you find kind of absurd about comedy awards and the sort of the amount of the awards that we bestow upon specials?
Yeah, I mean, I've only been on the sort of other side of that where, like, Parks and Rec never, like, when I was there, never really won anything. And like my whole
Rec never really won anything?
No.
Neither did The Wire, so you're in good company.
We're The Wire.
Comedy shows.
No, so then like the whole notion of like giving an award for something as subjective as comedy is absurd. But yeah, like everyone wants a trophy, right? So I was just like, well, if I give myself a trophy, then who cares? I did it. It's a total cop-out.
Now, what if you win an actual trophy?
I'll happily take it.
Do you have this trophy in your house?
I do.
Did you hold on to it?
Yeah, I have two of them. I had kept one in my office and would parade around.
Does the other one have the name on it? I don't want to give the joke away.
Yeah.
Does it have the name on it?
Yeah, that's when I keep it home. Yeah, it's on my mantle. And I would sometimes just walk around the office at the Good Place with that trophy, and then people would be like, it's not real. You're being obnoxious.
When you, part of at the top of the special, there's a whole sketch, and part of it is talking about who you're going to hire as a director.
Right.
When you hire a director for a comedy special, I'm curious how much say you want to have and how much say you do have when it comes to the direction and then the editing.
The guy who directed my special was an editor on Kroll Show. His name is Dan Longino, and he's gone on. He's like directs a bunch of like Portlandias and stuff. So he's a dude who like I just felt very comfortable. I know him well, and so I was just like, I trust him to like figure out how to make this. So in terms of direction, I like totally let him.
You didn't pop into the editing room to see what they were cutting?
Editing, by the end, I like would help them kind of figure out the final cut, but I have a hard time looking at myself. I mean, this is freaking me out right now. You can tell by my body language that I'm just like, yeah, this is.
You'll be in the middle of answering a question, you'll turn and see that and kind of just stop and look down.
No, but yeah, I helped out with the editing a little bit, but everyone involved was like super talented and was like in on the joke and understood what we were doing. So there was no real tension there at all.
Now, I know you from 23/6 a long time ago, which was this like political comedy website that you and your friend Noah Garfinkel did videos for.
Yeah.
And it was mostly during the sort of 2007, 2008, which was years of a fair amount of hope because
Right,
Barack
it was a
Obama.
happier time.
Yeah. So what is it like? I mean, obviously with the shows that you write on, and even with this special, you don't do too much political comedy. But do you find it harder to tell jokes in this climate, or do you find that you're not even really telling jokes? You're just like, look at this.
In what sense? Like,
well, your Twitter feed or how you discuss it.
The way, I mean, most of what I do on Twitter is just like I just retweet. I don't even have to like add commentary. Like I just find people saying like idiotic things and I just like post it. Like, yeah, this idiot said that.
I think the last thing that I saw that you tweeted that was just a retweet was the new communications director, Anthony Scaramucci, tweeting, the Mooch tweeting how much he loved Entourage, the movie, and saying that it was going to be a classic.
Yeah.
I guess people like that movie.
Go.
I don't know.
No.
It's not a classic. It's a bad movie.
It's the Mike Cernovich of movies. That is like incredibly accurate.
That it's the Mike Cernovich of movies.
I mean, I don't know. It's not getting laughs, but I know I'm right. Like I know how accurate that is. Yeah.
So when I worked with you, you did a fair amount of, I think because the site was political comedy, so you had to work within that vein. Do you want to do more political commentary?
I think everyone has to sort of figure out how to deal with this like new era we're living in where like I feel like we're all sort of like in an abusive relationship with our president. And he's like, he takes over our daily lives. Like we know we like are scared of everything he does and everything he says, and everyone's always talking about it. So it's like it's hard not to, but no, I haven't quite figured it out. I think everyone in my line of work is trying to figure out how to do it without being obnoxious or overzealous or what. It's just like it's hard. It's a really hard because like everything's sort of changed and it's something everyone's talking about. But that in itself makes it hard to, do commentary on.
Well, it makes it hard to find the angle that hasn't already been covered. And then it also, because some of it is so serious feeling at times, it makes it much harder to make a joke about it. The jokes are not like if you go back to presidents, even during George W. Bush, the jokes were about generally how stupid he was. They should have been a little bit deeper than that.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe we can learn from there. But with Trump, the jokes are like if you watch Colbert, on a Monday night, he can't even really tell a joke. He's just explaining how bad something is.
Also, another problem is that like you don't have time to like work out material because like maybe you finally figured out how you got him on, like if you spent all day today like writing the perfect joke about how he said all that psycho shit to the Boy Scouts.
Talked about his friend's yacht.
Yeah, it's just like tomorrow some other crazy thing's gonna happen and people will be like, what? Boy Scouts? What? It's just like there's too much.
Well, by morning he's tweeting about Sessions and by noon the Republicans are voting on health care.
Dude, we're doing it right now.
Yeah.
Abusive.
Yeah, we're in an abusive relationship. Let's get some questions from the audience. Who has a question?
Hi.
Hi.
So if you could write for one show on TV right now, what would it be?
The Good Place on NBC. No, I don't know.
Just hold on that.
Yeah. Actually, there's a show called Great News that is so funny. And if my schedule had worked out, I would have loved to write on that.
Is that also on NBC as well?
Yeah, that show is so funny. It's a lot of 30 Rock Kimmy Schmidt people, and the cast is just so good.
I love Kimmy Schmidt so much. Next question.
Hi. Have you ever been booed at any of your stand-ups?
Yeah. It doesn't happen a lot. But yeah, you deal with hecklers every now and again.
Do you have a go-to for when you have to deal with a heckler?
No, I'm not good at it. I tend to get, usually people are more seasoned and like have like a fun like give and take, but I just get like so angry so fast that I just like, I get like really mean. Right. And it usually works, but then it freaks everyone out. I like, it's like people are expecting like a fun like give and take, and then I like chop their head off, essentially. So I'm kind of a Lannister when it comes to hecklers.
It's like that moment in your special where you go deep into an ISIS joke and then have to kind of come out of it in some capacity.
Yeah.
Weed.
Right. I mean, that joke, I do a joke about ISIS in the special, and that was interesting because the first like 5 or 6 times I tried it out, it bombed so hard, and people booing a little bit.
It's a really tough joke.
It's a hard joke to. It's hard to execute. I was gonna make a gymnastics analogy, but I don't know enough about gymnastics. It's like a triple flip joke, triple sow cow, and
is sow cow a thing?
I think that's figure skating. I'm all over the place. Okay. I'm on another level.
Okay.
Not a good one, but I was trying this joke out, and like it just really kind of freaked people out, and I came away I would go home at night and just be like, I know this is funny. I just got to figure it out. And I think like it took some time, but I did figure out. I mean, in my opinion, I could, if someone saw that joke and hated it, I'd be like, yeah, I get it. Sure. Whatever.
Do you ever have jokes that you try and then you just say, that's not funny, I'm just going to throw it away, I don't have to figure this one out? Or is it when it doesn't initially get laughs, it feels like a challenge and you have to sort of figuring it out as part of the fun?
No, I mean, like there are certain bits that like I'll try once and doesn't work, and I'm like, yeah, that was nothing. But then there are other ones that I just have like an inkling, like, no, like I just have to figure this one out because I know it's funny,
Is it that is with the ISIS joke, it's not just that it's funny, it's that you also have a point that you're making. Was what interested you about that initially that you knew that it was funny, or that you had a point you wanted to make and you had to find what was funny about it?
Yeah, I mean, it came from a place where like people were like are so scared of ISIS, but they're not in America. Like there's so many things in America that are scary. So it's just weird to focus on this group that's thousands of miles away when like real shit's happening here.
And you make that point that anytime someone commits an act in this country, ISIS immediately takes credit, which is something that I felt for like months now when it happens. I'm like, how do we know? How do we know that ISIS, that this guy was affiliated with ISIS in any way? He lived in San Bernardino and hung out there. And
I mean, this is a terrible comparison, but in the writer's room, I started doing a similar thing where whenever anyone's like, who wrote that joke? I'd be like, I did. And it makes all the other writers crazy because like usually no one knows who wrote it because everyone pitches so many jokes. So I'm just doing I'm using the same mentality in the writers' room. It's great. It makes everyone crazy.
I want to be there for I wish I could have been there for the meeting where ISIS decided that they could just start taking credit for these things across the country.
Why not? Who's gonna
take credit? Just tweet about it.
Just say you did it. Oh. The work's been done. Yeah.
Next question.
Hi.
Hi.
I was just wondering, since like there's so much going on in your special, were there parts of your special that you couldn't show on this special that you wish that could have gone on here?
Yeah, I mean, I ended up having to. I think we shot an extra like half-hour material, and we just for time had to like cut it down. So there were certain jokes that like I wish had made the cut, but just there's only like and it was also just like thematically, it's like I have this whole Mike Huckabee joke, which is about me getting high and going to Mike Huckabee, but I had like 3 other jokes about being high, and then my director was like, we don't need to like do 4 jokes about being high.
Cut them out.
Gotta cut it. Yeah. So there's a couple weed jokes that I wish stayed in, but maybe next time.
Would you put them in any more future specials?
I'm hoping. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this goes. People seem to be so excited for it. So, yeah.
Can we talk about some of the people that you have at the top of the special?
Yeah, let's do it.
Blake Griffin. You got Blake Griffin to come by, shoot some hoops with you.
Yeah,
How did that happen? You DM him?
We're buds. I DM'd him. Yeah, no, I texted him. He's a comedy fan.
He's very funny.
Yeah, he's so funny in the special.
There's a moment where he actually does. Usually, when someone does a cameo, you can tell like they do a line and then we cut to something else and they do a line. He actually does a couple times where he has like multiple lines doing different ideas in the same take.
No, it's like it's not fair. He's like an all-star basketball player and he's like good at comedy. It's not. It's like,
You're not a bad basketball player though. You hit a three-pointer in.
I
in,
did.
In a
I
wide
mean, I'm
shot.
fine. I'm not gonna be in the NBA.
You can hit a three-pointer.
I can. Yeah.
It is.
I mean, I could look. Could I play on the Cavs, maybe off the bench, just open threes? Yeah, I could be on the Cavs.
There it is. Joe Mande, everybody. The special is on Netflix right now.
Yeah.
Joe Mande's award-winning comedy special, now streaming on Netflix. Joe Mande, everybody. Thanks,
you.
Joe.
Thank you. Thank you.